Especially, you may discuss about how we have to wash our hands properly by following 8 steps, which is suggested by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and how to use the reusable homemade mask and what are the appropriate behavior in wearing that mask, and also maintaining a social distance in public places, offices, and during our travel. Right? These you might be discussed, and in the second session was taken by Dr. Kumar Raka, the basic concepts of disaster risk management. In that, we may discuss about what actually a hazard, disaster, and then capacity, and then a risk, vulnerability. After that, prevention, mitigation, preparedness, and recovery, response, reconstruction, and resilience. These are all the basic terms related to disaster risk management, which you might discuss today. Right. So today, let me start with the introduction to child-centric disaster risk reduction. And this is the most important session in this 3 days online training program because the title itself child-centric disaster risk reduction. And many people, you may have attended many disaster risk management related training program, and you may had about disaster risk management and community-based disaster risk management. But this is the first time you may had about this child-centric disaster risk reduction, right? So let's understand what actually child-centric disaster risk reduction means. Okay. So let me give you a brief background, and in between, I will be discussing with the participants, and I will be keep on asking some questions. So I request all the participants to keep listen carefully, and you can answer me in through chat box, right? So listen carefully. So during 2001 to 15, and there was 10 major droughts which was observed in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana. And because of that, about 36 percentage of the children were stranded. And more than one-fourth of the children, which is 26.1% of the children, are affected by child wasting. We will be discussing what actually a child stunting and child wasting means in the next session. Okay. So here what we need to understand, if any disaster occurs, so the children were directly being affected. Even if you take an example of this COVID-19, many people have lost their employment and the income has been reduced. Because of that, they were unable to feed their children. So when there is a disruption in their food supply, which also leads to child stunting and child wasting. And a lot of humanitarian organization has come up with their own research, and they said that the number of death among the children is going to be very high in the next year, and the percentage of child stunting and child wasting is also going to be increased. Okay, that's what the researchers were saying. Now, and in this situation, we need to realize that are we involving our children in the disaster risk management activities? But most of the time, the children are not involved in the disaster risk management activities. Just I would like to put one of my experience. 10 to 15 years back, when I was starting my career in disaster risk management, I was doing a I was doing a participatory rural appraisal in one of the coastal area of southern states. And when I was doing that, when naturally there is a crowd in any one village, what happens? Naturally, all the children used to come. But when we prepare some risk mapping or vulnerability map, but we used to ask only the elder people, women, especially the child self-help group women and local governments people, and some of the elder people from the village. So we used to hear only we used to involve only those people. So we are not involving them in the disaster risk management. So when I was doing that map, naturally the children were also came to see. But when the children come, sometimes they used to disturb, and we feel that the children are always disturbances. So even at that time, I was also telling those people to uh, telling those children to go back to their home to not disturb this process. So what happened naturally, we are not involving children in any of disaster risk management activities. Even now also, if you see during this COVID-19, we are involving many people, coronavirus, like selling people, doctors, and everyone is involved in this kind of COVID-19, but the children were not involved. The children are seen only as yet victims. And many times the child voices are also not heard. So when we are preparing such a disaster risk management plans, we are hearing only the voices of elder people and we are asking only the elder people. We are not considering the children. The children voices are not included anywhere. And after any disasters, the children also can be further harmed, abused, and exploited at any time. And I can see that one of the case in Andhra Pradesh, what happened during this lockdown, one of the tea shop owner who was not getting any income due to the lockdown, and he was decided to do a farming in his own land. But when he was doing this farming, and he did not have any money to grow his land, so what he has done is instead of using a pull for growing the land, he used his two of girl children for growing the land. See the situation how a girl children can be used for growing a land instead of food. This is what happened in after any disasters, the children were further harmed and abused. And in many times the children were also uh, kidnapped or trafficked from one place to another place. So overall, from this, like, what we need to understand is the children were directly being affected by the disasters, and the children voices and their participations were not ensured in any disaster risk management activities. Okay. Now, let us see why we need to involve children in the disaster risk management activities. The first thing, as per United Nations Convention on Rights of the children have a right to participation. This UNCRC talks about various rights. You can see like right to development, right to participation, right to live, right to protection. These are the basic rights which is being given in the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Children. So, as per this UNCRC, all the children, irrespective of their age, gender, ability, religion, okay, each and every children have a right to participate, right to participation. That's why we need to involve our children in the disaster risk management activities. And second, and the children are able to convey the messages with meaningful and effectively. For example, when the children come back from the school, when the children goes to school and come back from the school to their home, and the whole day, the evening, they used to tell what happened in the school. Particularly, they used to talk with their mother and used to say, "My friend has taken my pencil. I have missed my money. Teacher has beaten me. I didn't complete my work. I have missed my notebook." Like they used to say. Sometimes the parents we used to tell, "Arey Baba, bas. Chalo, इतना ज़्यादा मत बात करो. You go and do your homework." We used to tell like this. So we are not allowing our children to talk even. So here, but one thing we need to understand: the children have capacity to communicate very meaningfully and effectively, right? And second, the children are more willing to learn and develop a culture of adaptation. If you buy any smartphone, and the children can learn very quickly, they are adapting to all the technology and anything. Even if we are not aware of any, we are not aware of any things like the smartphone, the elder people and parents to whom they are asking, they used to naturally ask the children because the children knows much better than us. So the children can easily adapt with any technology or and they have, can develop a culture of adaptation and they're also willing to learn many things. I remember one of the situation, 5 years, 7 years back, one of a fifth standard boy who was telling to me he can crack the password of neighborhood, crack the password of neighborhood's Wi-Fi, and he can able to connect the mobile to the neighbor's network. And at that time, even I was not much of Wi-Fi or not, but he, fifth standard boy, he was telling that he can crack the password and connect to the network. See, they have able to learn and they can develop it also practice. And apart from that, the children also have an immense creative skill, creativity skill. So now I would like to ask and interact with the participants here. Can anyone say, have you observed any creativity among your children with related to disaster management or climate change? Related to disaster or climate change? Any creativity, if you have observed from your students or your children or your neighborhood, please put it into chat box. If you observe any creativity among the children, please put it in the chat box. Ravindra sir, if
Yes.
someone has raised the hand, can you unmute them? Is it possible? I just
So,
want to
so many people have raised the hand, sir. I think there is no question. Okay, okay. First of all, Wilson, we have unmuted the Wilson name.
Yeah, one by one you can. For each question, we will discuss with only three people, not more than that.
Hello, Wilson Garu.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, have you raised it? Yeah, you have raised your hand, sir. Is there any question, sir?
No, I have asked a question that have you observed any creativity among your children or your students? Then you can share.
Okay. How do we share it, sir?
Now you can speak.
Chat box?
You can speak.
Pardon?
You unmute, na? You can speak.
Yeah.
And one person from Tiba, she said that during landslide, they learned to make a new roads. It was a creativity.
Okay.
One person put in the chat box. You can speak, sir. Mr. Wilson, you can speak.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, we had made a exit for fire safety and also, but regarding to that was for earthquake and any such natural disaster. As far as this COVID regarding restrictions, we did not have anything on it. But for disaster management, we do have a plan in our school, which the children are able to draw and they're able to follow as soon as we have an indication, sir. That's what I wanted to tell you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you. Anyone, my question is, have you observed any creativity among your children, school children, or your neighborhood child? Then you can share. One more person, if anybody wants. All people, you can put it in the chat box also, and if anybody wants, you can speak.
Yes,
And,
sir. Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you. Gurappa, sir, our school children collected money and things for distribution in the flood affected people in our area. Okay, it's a contribution of children. And Sultan said, if my students are concentrating in a climate change, they are planting trees both in school and public area. Okay, these are all some of the examples of child-centered disaster risk action and children participation in the DRR. Some creativity, something if you have observed anything among the children, you can share with me. A 4-year-old wanted to build a tree house in flood-prone area. Yeah, this is a creativity. Tree house. I don't know what he mean by tree house. Maybe on the top of the tree he may want to construct the house. I think this was said by Bhargav, and he saying that a 4-year-old wanted to build a tree house in a flood-prone area, so that even if the flood comes, you will not be affected because you are living on the top of the tree. Yeah, this is the creativity a child which has. Very good. Creating pictures with watercolors, and the children always show interest with during tree plantation. Of course, you are right. Okay. With this, let me finish my question and I'll proceed. Of course, this is one of the best examples. A person told the child want to construct a tree house or about the tree. It's one of the examples for the creativity. Similarly, I would like to explain. I would like to give you examples. In many government schools, we do not have a proper sanitation facility, toilet facilities. I had a chance to visit entire country and many of the schools, and I found in one of the school children, they have made their own toilet facility by using the bamboo sticks and the 25-liter water can. So where they do not have previously, they do not have any toilet facilities, and they came up with a creative thing and they made their own toilet facility. And the second creativity which I have observed among the children is, I think anyone knows what is seed balls? Do you have any idea? Seed balls? Can anyone tell me what is seed balls? Can anyone tell me what is seed balls in the chat box? Can you put seed ball मतलब क्या है? And one person was asking in between full form of DRR, disaster risk reduction. Okay, and here the audio is perfect. If you are not able to listen, please check with your connections. Okay, this is my request. And if you know anyone, and here we have more than 5,000 participants across the country. So English will be a language. We cannot talk in Hindi or any other local language. Anyone? Okay. The second creativity which I have observed among the student is some of the students from the rural area who came up with the initiative of preparing seed balls. What they have done is they have made balls with mud and a cow tank, and within that ball they used to insert different seeds. So before rainy season, they used to throw the balls into the land. So after raining, the plants come out of from the balls which they have thrown. So this is one of the creativity made by the children for tree plantation or ensuring the coverage of forest area. So what I'm trying to say here is the children has a skill of immense creativity. Okay, and second thing, the children are able to participate beyond a disaster preparedness role. So now the children can prepare themselves. First thing, when during this COVID-19 also you can observe that when the disaster during this COVID-19 they use sanitizer, they use mask, and they are preparing themselves. And apart from that, they have also supported to large number of vulnerable people, and many children they have contributed their savings. They have contributed their savings to the migrant people who are walking on the road. They have provided food, and many children they have bought a mask with their own money and they have distributed to the free of cost to the poor people. And even in many disaster situations like the cyclone, the children have uh, donated their toys and their cycles to the affected children in the cyclone affected area, right? So now we have discussed why we need to involve children in the disaster risk reduction activities. One thing, the children have a right to participation and they have a skill of conveying messages with meaningfully, and they also have a skill of creativity, and they can participate beyond the disaster preparedness role. So that we need to involve children in disaster risk reduction. Now let me ask a question with the participants. As per your understanding, what do you mean by child-centric disaster risk reduction? Child-centric disaster risk reduction मतलब क्या है? You can keep it in the chat box. What do you? It is like asking a blind person to explain how an elephant looks like. Of course, it's a new topic to you. Even just I would like to hear from you. Whatever comes to your top of mind, you can share with me. What do you mean by, or what do you understand by child-centric disaster risk reduction, as per your understanding? Whatever comes to your mind, you can share with me. Any response? We have more than 1,000 people in the platform. What do you mean by child-centric disaster risk reduction? And if anybody really wants to speak, you can raise your hand so that they can unmute you. Anybody? Okay, one person, Purnima, he said, reducing the disaster risk of children by children. Good answer. What do you mean by child-centric disaster risk reduction? Whatever you understand about child-centric disaster risk reduction, please put in the chat box. Aware the children about disaster risk management. One person, Anushya, said that creating awareness among the children, perfect. And Prabhakaran said that during disaster time, students should know how to handle the situation. Okay, good. Anybody? Whatever comes to your mind, you can share. What do you mean by child-centric disaster risk reduction? CCD, Marankar said CCDRR mean reducing disaster to children either physically, psychologically. An accident in school like Kumbakonam tragedy. That is a disaster. Okay, educating our children how to handle. Samutra said how educating children. And to be bold to overcome the disaster. To be bold to overcome the disaster, Suguna said. Okay, and Arbinas, sir, it means if children have a knowledge of disaster, how to handle it, it will be helpful for the children. Of course. So many answers were right. And now let me explain. So many people told that creating awareness among the children about what is disasters. Of course, you are right. So let us discuss now. So here the child-centric disaster risk reduction means you need to remember 3 points. Okay, one is focusing on specific risk faced by the children. Focusing on specific risk faced by the children. For example, when we are crossing the road, we know that we should not, before cross the road, we used to see both sides. After that, we used to cross. But the childrens are not like that. Okay, what they used to do, suddenly they cross the road. That's why many times they were hit by some scooters or car and the children were affected by the accidents. So this is one of the example. And we know that we should not touch the electric poles that way it may be the electricity may be passed. So but the children are not like that. They used to casually go on test, they used to play. So these are all some of the specific risks faced by the children. And apart from that, even you can see during the disaster, the children may trafficked or the children may be abused, the children may not get complimentary food, and the children may not get a milk. Okay, these are all some of the risks faced by the children during the disaster. So, child-centric disaster risk reduction means focusing on specific risks faced by the children and bringing some measures to address those issues. Okay, and the second point, involving children in disaster risk reduction efforts. Involving children in disaster risk reduction efforts. Okay, like suppose there is a cyclone. How we can involve children in disaster risk reduction efforts, and the children should know what are the do's and don'ts during cyclone, and the children also can be involved in collecting some donations. Even the children also can be involved in maintaining that relief center. The children can be involved in passing the communication, and the children can be involved in the controlling the people. So there are various activities to involve the children in disaster risk reduction efforts. Okay, and the third thing, child-centric disaster risk reduction is disaster risk reduction for the children and with the children. And this was by one of the participants. I remember so, child-centric disaster risk reduction is for the children and with the children to reduce the risk of children the children themselves should do. Okay, like suppose you take an example, COVID-19. To reduce their risk, the children should wear themselves a mask. Of course, we can educate them, we can help them, but the children themselves, if they are wearing the mask and they are creating awareness in the society, then it is a child-centered disaster risk reduction. It is like democracy. We all know that the definition of democracy: for the people, by the people, of the people. Similarly, the child-centered disaster risk reduction is for the children and with the children. Okay, so I hope now you understand about what is actually a child-centric disaster risk reduction. So when we talk about child-centric disaster risk reduction, we need to remember these three words: focusing on specific risks faced by the children and bringing measures to address those issues. And second, involving children in disaster risk management efforts. And the third point is child-centric disaster risk reduction is for the children and with the children. Okay, in examination, we all know that even if the student writes answer but the teacher doesn't give marks, they used to give full marks when they write the definitions properly, right? So similarly, here we will see. Here we will see what is the definition of child-centric disaster reduction. Okay, so what the definition says is children and adolescents must not be perceived as merely victims. That's what we need to understand. They also are effective actors. Okay, so we all know that. Just let me relate with COVID-19 so that you can easily understand. Of course, the children are also being infected. The children are also being infected during this COVID-19. But at the same time, what happens? The children are also being an effective actor. They have contributed their savings, they have contributed their money to the vulnerable people. And I have observed in many villages, the children, they have joined hands with the local government and they have involved in sanitizing the public places or disinfecting the public places and providing food materials to the vulnerable people. And the children were involved in preparing homemade masks and they have distributed to the poor people. And I would like to give one example. In Kerala, one boy who wrote a letter to the President of India saying that my village is being affected by the sea waves. This big because the village was located in nearby seashore and also in lockdown. So requesting a help from the government to safeguard the village. So we can see that the children are also effective actors. They are not just merely a victims. Okay. And second thing, taking into account their level of physical, social, and emotional development, assessing their capacities and opinions, we need to promote a space and mechanism for their full participation in the disaster risk management. See, we can divide a life cycle of a child into five different phases. One is, okay, before that, let me ask a question to the people. As per your understanding, who is child? बच्चों कौन है? Who is child? Can anyone tell me? We can put it in the chat box also. Who is child? 1,000 participants, but no answer. 0 to 18 years, said by Purnima. Small kids, ASLV, said by ASLV, all kids. And Prabhakaran said up to 14 years. And Sanjay said under 14 years, below 18 years. And Prasad said below the 3 to 18 years. And Ananda said 0 to 14 years. And Krishna saying 0 to 12 years. And Sultan says who is below 12 years. Okay. And Dinesh Kumar says up to years, Samoset up to 18 years, 10 to 19 years. Okay, all the ages from 1 to 18 are coming as a answer. I'm happy to see large number of responses from the participants. Of course, they all are answering. So here what we need to understand in our country, we have a different definitions. We have a different definitions. Okay, like if you take a child labor act, if you take a child labor act, as per child labor act, the person below 14 years, they all are called children. Okay, this is with reference to the child labor act. And second, with reference to marriage act, we have a different age for boys and different age for girls. For girls, it's 18. For boys, it's 21. Okay. So this is separate from the here. And so, like this, we have a different definition in our country. But what we have to consider here is, as per United Nations Convention on Rights of the Children, UNCRC, the person below 18 years or children. Okay, now we understand below 18 years all children. Okay, from which stage it starts? From where the stage of child starts? Anyone? Of course. Below 18 years all are children. This is clear? Okay, the child right starts from the womb stage. When the women get conceived, when the women get pregnant, that stage itself, from prenatal stage to below 18 years, all are called children. Okay, so now we have a set of people from the pregnant women to below 18 years old, they all are children. So in that case, if you see their capacity, the mental development or physical development is different. So as I said, we can divide a life cycle of children into different phases. The one is prenatal stage, it's a pregnancy stage, prenatal stage. And second, 0 to 2 years, it's the infant. We can say 0 to 2 years, it's an infant. And 3 to 5 years, early childhood, 0 to 3 to 5 years, early childhood, and 6 to 12 years, childhood, and 13 to 18 years, adolescence. Okay, so these are all the life cycle of a child. But if you see their development, like physical, mental, and emotional development, it varies. For example, and their skill also varies. For example, 0 to 2 years old, they are completely depending on their parents for their survival. Okay, and 3 to 5 years old children, they were loving eating food themselves and start wearing the dresses. Okay, so their capacities and skills are varying. Here, if you see this, so we need to see their capacity, skills, and development. Accordingly, we have to give an opportunity or spaces for them to involve in disaster risk management. If you take, suppose there is a fire in one house, if you ask any elder people to go and communicate, they may hesitate to run and tell them. But if you inform a child to go and communicate to the other people about the fire, they will take their own bike, and like they used to go fast and they used to communicate. There is a fire, 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 come, come, come. Okay, so the children, for this communicating this message, yeah, 5 to 6 to 12, why can do easily. Similarly, 13 to 18 years old adolescents, if you are training them properly, they can, if you are training them properly, they can be involved in first aid, they can be involved in evacuation at the time of floods. Okay, so we need to understand the children's capacity. Accordingly, we have to promote the chance for them to be involved in the disaster risk management. As earlier I was saying, this I've seen in the many villages this 6 to 12 year The boys were distributing the masks, and 6 to 12 years old boys were involved in the sanitizing the public places. Okay, so what the CCDR definition says, we should not merely perceive the children as a merely victims, and they also effective actors. Okay, and second, by seeing their physical, emotional development, we need to promote space for their participation in disaster risk management activities. Okay, hope now you all understand about this child-centric disaster risk management. Now, let's go to the next. And so, before going to that, I would like to ask people how we can involve children in containment of this COVID-19, or in any aspects related to COVID-19, how you can involve children. You can put it in the chat box. How we can involve children in the COVID-19 management activities. Okay, poster competition. Purna said to go for rally. Mubarak said quiz program can be conducted. Perfect. Sultan said spreading awareness in their house and village. ASLV said provide food for quarantine people. Good. Perfect. Chandrakala said awareness. Absolutely. Okay. Creating. Mubarak said street plays. Sudha said involved with different competitions. And Anandra said by making them understand that the parents must not go out. Okay. Dinesh Kumar said children by giving task and along through limitation, counseling to children and their families, to spread awareness, online drawing competition. See, of course, your answers all are perfect, but see, understand what is child-centered disaster risk. I said involving children in disaster risk management and by seeing their capacity. So children are from 0 to 12 years, prenatal to 18 years old. There are various activities where we can involve the children. For example, like preparing homemade masks, that also can be done by a child. I'll give an example after listening to all of your answers. Anybody would like to give an answer? Jan Prasad said, discuss the peer groups, slogans, and Usharani said they know awareness about the present situation. Okay. But how you can involve children in this COVID-19? At present, the children are aware of this pandemic. 90% are aware of the impact. In regular discussion. Okay. And of course, cleaning houses. Yeah, simple. Purnima has said a perfect answer. Very simple. You can use the children in sanitizing your houses. Like frequently used items like doors and windows and the chairs where you sit. Okay. And one person said preparing sanitizer in the laboratory. Discuss about COVID. Okay. So now you all understand what is child-centered disaster risk. And apart from that, there are many aspects to involve children in the COVID-19. And in one village, what I have observed is in one containment zone, the children, like adolescent people, have formed a group, and they were supporting to the people living in the containment zone because everyone cannot come out of their home. So what they have done, they have formed a committee to have provide a water, food, and going to grocery shops and to buy the medicines for the people. They have supported these adolescents, and the children were also supported to the people who are in the home quarantine. Adolescents, they also went to the home quarantine, supported the home quarantine people. So, so clearly, for a better understanding, I'm relating with COVID-19. But this applies to all types of disaster. It may be a man-made disaster or natural disaster, like landslide, flood, cyclone, or earthquake. we need to involve children in all types of disaster risk management activities. Okay. Now let's see what of child disaster risk management. Okay. It is a strengthening accountability mechanism between right holder and duty bearer. Okay, it's a strengthening the accountability mechanism between right holders and duty bearers. So here, who are all the right holders? One is children, pregnant women, and parents. Children, pregnant women, and parents. They all are right holders. Okay. Similarly, in case of absence of parents, the guardian also a right holder. Okay. So children, pregnant women, parent, and guardian, they all are right holder. Then who are all duty bearer here? All government, national government, central, state government, local governments, all the line departments, non-governmental organizations, civil societies, and humanitarian organizations, international organizations, all the stakeholders who all are working for the betterment of the children, all are duty bearers. Okay, so here the goal of child-centered lesson is strengthening the accountability mechanism between right holder and duty bearer. So in right holder, we need to create awareness about their rights. Okay, awareness about their rights, so that the right holders can fight for their rights at the time of emergency and disaster. They can raise their voice for their rights. And the duty bearer, by providing information flow and making them to realize their duties at various level. Okay, so that the duty bearer can realize duties, and they also can protect and fulfill the rights of the children at the time of disaster. So finally, the goal of CCDRR is to safeguard the children's rights in relation to disaster risk and climate change. In relation to disaster risk and climate change. Okay. Now, benefits of child-centric disaster risk reduction. So this child-centric disaster risk reduction is enabling environment for children to actively involve in disaster risk reduction. Okay, so this DRR is enabling environment. When we involve the children, we are enabling them to cope up with the disaster risk management, to cope up with the disaster. If you are teaching them about the do's and don'ts, it's an enabling mechanism. Okay, if you are involving them, it's an enabling mechanism. Okay, so similarly, it also provides an avenue for children to utilize their attitude, skill, and knowledge for creation of a safe and resilient environment. So this is also provides an opportunity to utilize the attitude, skill, and knowledge of children. I think there are a large number of teachers in this training program. So I would like to ask, if you are preparing a school safety plan, a school disaster management plan, how will you involve your children, or how will you use their attitude, skill, and knowledge for preparing the school safety or disaster management plan? I'm repeating. Ravindra sir, are you aware?
Yes, yes, sir.
If any participants raise their hand, you can unmute them. Okay, so my
Okay.
question is, suppose if you are preparing a school safety plan, a school disaster management plan, how will you use the children? How will you involve the children? Or how will you use their attitude, skill, and knowledge? Okay, if anybody would like to answer, you can raise your hand, so the host will unmute you and you can speak. And other people, those who are not willing to speak, can keep it in the chat box also.
Some of the participants, okay, are in panelists, sir. Okay, I did the panelist. Okay, they and also can respond.
Yeah, they also can. You can unmute yourself and you can speak that. Anybody? Is my question is clear? You are asked to prepare a school disaster management plan or school safety plan. In reason, how will you involve children, your school children, to prepare the school disaster management plan? Or how will you use their attitude, knowledge, and skill? Anybody? One person, Harish Kumar, said that emergency response team with the children, forming a team with the children, and they will be in the planning committee. The children can be in the planning committee. Okay. Any other? Make a mock demo to identify the vulnerable area. Good. Planting trees and creating awareness. Okay. My question is related to making a school safety plan. One person assemble the children and we can train them via physical training how to actively they can act. Okay, allot the works as per their skills. That's what I want. One person there saying allot their skills, allot their work as per their skills. What work you will allocate? You give an example. How will you involve the children? By mock practice. Okay. School are not open, so it is a very big task to aware and motivate the children. Just I'm asking an example. Don't worry about whether schools are open or not. Okay, lot of answers are coming. Assign health department committee. Okay, we can form a different committee with the children. Mobilize them into groups. Each will lead them the various drills, giving work like making a mask. I was asking about how will you use involve your children for making a school safety plan or disaster management plan. Okay, of course, I got a lot of answers. Let me continue. Suppose you are asked to prepare a school disaster management plan. How will you use their knowledge, skill, and attitude? When you are preparing this school safety plan, you need to know the better evacuation routes for the fire or earthquake also. So the children knows much better than us. Children knows much better than us what are the evacuation routes, because they know how to bunk the school with knowledge of teacher. They used to escape with the various routes. So that knowledge also can be used. And there are large number of students who can draw a maps, who is very good in drawing the maps and pictures. So for making a evacuation map or vulnerability mapping, you can use their drawing skill. And more much better than the teachers, the children knows who are all weak among their colleagues, among the students, who are all more vulnerable among the students. So this knowledge also can be utilized. So on second, it allows this child-centered disaster risk allows them to raise their voice to protect the basic rights. Okay, so when we are aware about the child-centered disaster risk reduction, we are giving a chance, we are giving an opportunity for the children to raise their voice. And suppose a group of children were kept in the relief centers after cyclone, and the children can ask what they need. And yesterday, yesterday the Director General of Kerala Institute of Local Administration, Dr. Joy Eleman, he was saying that once upon a time, the former minister Manisankar Iyer, who was visiting to Kerala after the flood, and he was asking to the children, "What is your need right now?" And the children said, "They need a cricket bat and ball." We may think, is it necessary at the time of disasters? but as their rights, child rights, it is their need and it's our responsibility to provide them. Apart from that, the CCDR also creates an opportunity to undertake roles in practice, participate in the community development work. Of course, this also creates an opportunity to participate in community development. Okay, they are providing, children were involved in disaster risk management activities like creating, making a mask and distribution and tree plantation. It's also in a community development work. It's also in a social work for them. Okay. And the children should be actively engaged in decision making plan accountability process for DRR. Okay, for example, now in COVID-19, the government are planning to reopen the schools. In that case, we also need to ask the opinion of children, and the children also should be engaged in the decision making, planning, and accountability process. Similarly, in your village, suppose you are forming a disaster management committees, you also need to be involved the children. And suppose you are given some 50 lakh fund to construct a relief center, relief home, or multi-purpose disaster management center. In that case, you need to involve children also to listen to their opinions and what are the aspects, what are the things need to be, what are the provisions need to be given in that relief centers. So that children also need to be involved in the decision making and planning process. And the children are supported to be a change agent in their spheres of influence, household, school, and community and beyond. Suppose you are teaching a child about what are the do's and don'ts during COVID-19, and it is also so the children can be a change agents. They can also influence others because many children are also teaching the parents. If the children knows we have to wash, we have to wear the mask properly, and if the parents are not wearing properly, they used to tell, no, no, don't put your mask like this. Wear like this. This is the right way. And I would like to give an example. My child, whenever my child used to say, go slow, take a side stand. He used to teach me. Tell when the speed breakers are coming, he used to tell me to put a brake. So the children can be a change agents. They can teach to their parents, their household, and their schools, and their neighborhoods. And the CCDR activities also targets international and national level legislative process. So when we are implementing this child-centered disaster risk reduction activities, it also relates with the Sendai framework and fulfilling the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Children. So now let's discuss about few of the valuable approach. This child-centered disaster risk reduction can be implemented by anyone. There is no need of much resources. Any organization which has limited resources or organization which do not have any resources also can be implement this child-centered disaster risk reduction. No need of any resources. For example, if you are working with a self-help group, just create awareness on child rights. It's also you don't need to invest any additional resources or invest any money for this. So you are already working with a women's group. Just simply create awareness among the parents about the child rights. It's very simple. No need of much resources for this. And the organization which is working on reducing the vulnerability can maximize the impact of their intervention by building the capacity of the largest people. Just create awareness on what are the do's and don'ts during cold waves or the do's and don'ts during COVID-19 or landslide or earthquake. which will have a huge impact, which will maximize your impact, that small intervention. Okay. And the children are also have a regularly identified immediate risk, and the children are also have a different perception of the risk. Suppose 100 people are sitting in one hall, a snake enters. What we used to do immediately, everyone used to run away from there. But the same happens with a 2 years old child who is playing. If snake comes, they used to try to catch the snake. They do not bother about the risk, and they have a different perception about the risk. And apart from that, the children have a regularly identified and immediate risk. Like in many schools, I have observed there is no water tap at all for washing their hands. So what the children used to do, they used to get only 30 minutes for lunch break. So after the lunch break, they used to walk to the nearest water bodies and water streams or tanks or rivers to go for washing their plates. So what's happening? They may die. It's happened in many schools. And in some cases, they have only one water tap. So within 30 minutes, thousands of children need to have a food and they have to wash their plates and hands. So what they are doing, just if you see the boxes, lunch boxes and plates which they are carrying, it's very sharp like a knife. So when they try to wash their hands, they used to even cut their fingers. So these are all some of the regularly identified immediate risks of the children which we need to address. Okay, now let me interact with some people. I have shown here two pictures. Okay, can anyone tell me who is she? Right side there is a girl, a white girl. Can you tell me who is she? If anyone knows about her, not only name and about her, whatever the information which you know, you can tell me. Yeah. Many people have told her name is Greta Thunberg. Mubarak said she's a Swedish girl, and another person said she's a climate change activist. Okay, she raised a question about the environment, of course. Great. So many people are aware about her. It's good. She has also won an award recently. Okay. She's the environment activist. Sri Priya said she is the environmental activist. Absolutely. Okay, so many information you have already shared. She's a Greta Thunberg, Swedish girl, climate change activist. Okay, and what she has done is she has started a campaign called 3F, Friday for Future. She has started a campaign called 3F, Friday for Future. So every Friday, she started strike of school, and in front of Parliament, she made a strike, and she was fighting for the climate change impact on the children and future of children. Okay, so now her campaign become very popular at global level, and children from various countries have joined, and now she has become a climate change activist. Okay, and the second one is the right side. You're seeing a girl. Her name is Nadia. She is from southern states. And when she was studying in a school, she was sitting in the school. There was a bad smell which comes from the pond, which has a lot of bushes. So she told to her father. She told to her father to clean that pond, but he did not listen. So what she has done is she did not spoke to her father for more than 8 months. Then the father realized why and asked her, why you are not speaking with me? And then she said, you are not listening to my words. I was unable to sit in the classroom because of the bruises in the pond. Then he realized he alone, the father alone, cleaned that pond. The father alone cleaned that pond himself, and now she could able to continue her education without any disturbance. So why I have given this here is there is two examples. One is at local level and one is at international level, where the children can influence, and mobilize for action, and the children can do anything. Okay. Now, I would like to give a few more examples about child-centered disaster risk reduction initiatives. Okay. At the time of Cyclone Fani, uh, the government of Odisha has come up with a lot of initiatives. What they have done is um, more than 2,600 underweight children. You can see severe malnourished children, SAM, severe accused malnourished children. More than 7,000 pregnant women were provided advanced take home rice in advance before landfall of Cyclone Fani. And the same happened during this COVID-19 also. And we all are aware that during this COVID-19 lockdown, schools and Anganwadi centers were closed, and lakhs of children were depending on Anganwadi center for their nutrition meals. So the many state governments like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and Telangana, Odisha have come up with the initiative of providing take-home rice to the children, so that the children is not necessary to come to the Anganwadi center, and their nutrition is also ensured. Okay, so this is one of the initiative, and the special care was taken to save the older people, differently able women and children much before cyclone landfall. Okay, and more than 1,940 members of pregnant women were shifted to delivery points. Means it's our responsibility to ensure the institutional delivery for all the pregnant women. So if the cyclone landfalls, there may be a chance of disruption of transport and roads and everything. So their pregnant delivery will be very critical. So to ensure the safe and institutional delivery, all these pregnant women were shifted to the delivery points in advance, and the food supplies were also pre-positioned, and the government has visited, own offices have been visited, um, all the government offices have been visited to the all the child related institutions, and to ensure the availability of food stocks, so that even after cyclone they may not their nutrition will not be disrupted. And apart from that, school fees and school examination fees were also waived off for the in the disaster affected areas. And the government has Odisha government has also provided two extra pairs of school uniform for the extremely affected area children, and one extra pairs of uniform for severely affected area children. Okay, and they also ensure the safety. Prior inspections was made to the all Anganwadi centers, and food stocks and essential items were carried. And the instructions were also given to the Women and Child Welfare Department and MS officers to ensure the safety of the children and pregnant and lactating women. And even this COVID-19 also, you can see all the guidelines which was given by Ministry of Home Affairs from the lockdown 1 to unlock 4. They have mentioned children, pregnant women, and elder people should not be step out of the home, because they are giving priority to them. This is what child-centered disaster risk reduction. And prior to the cyclone, the severe acute malnourished children were admitted in the nutrition centers, and the nutrition counselors were instructed to not discharge the children even after the cyclone, because you have seen that there may be a chance of child stunting and child wasting if the nutrition is disrupted. There is no one particular way of doing child-centric disaster risk reduction. There is no one way of doing child-centric disaster risk reduction. Each organization has their own way of doing this CCDRR. For example, UNICEF's way is protecting child rights at the time of disaster. And the Save the Children, they are doing involving in children in the disaster risk management activities. And so similarly, different organization has a different perspectives of working with child-centric disaster risk reduction. What the government of India's approach is, it's a multifaceted approach involving children in disaster risk management activities, and also creating awareness among the children and protecting child rights at the time of disasters. Okay, so it's a multifaceted approach. When we understand the breadth and depth of the vulnerabilities of children, then only we can save the children from the disasters. For example, the 2 years old children's need is different, and the 18 years old children, girl child's need is different at the time of disaster, which we need to understand. And there is a different difference among the gender. The male baby and female baby children's are female children's needs also varies at the time of disasters. So we need to understand the breadth and depth of the vulnerabilities of vulnerabilities to disaster risk and how they can affect the different groups of children, so that we can address those issues. Okay, now let us see some of the difference between child-centric disaster risk reduction and community-based disaster risk reduction. Okay, so here if you see, the community-based risk reduction is here central to the process. There is no target group. When we are in CBDRR, there is no any target group. But in child-centric disaster risk reduction, there is a target group. Children are our target. Okay, and in CBDRR, the children's problems and vulnerability was in a say adult-led process. When we do CBDRR, we used to ask only elder people how your children were being affected, what are the needs of your children. But sometimes they may not also not aware. Okay, but at the same time, the children in CCDRR, the children themselves take a lead role, and they used to share what are those problems and what are their needs at the time of disasters. Okay, similarly, the risk assessment is mostly done by adult in CBDRR, but in CCDRR, child activists or the children used to do the risk assessment. In CBDRR, it is a emphasize on strengthening the community-based organization like disaster management committees or farmers group, women self-help groups, right? But CCDRR is strengthening the CBOs as well as children organization, focusing on children's organization like adolescent group, Bala Sapa, youth group. Okay, and the focus is also central to the natural hazard and its impact on the community. The focus is central to natural hazard and its impact on the community. But in CCDRR, the focus is central to the development issues like health, education, right, child labor issues were discussed. So here the CBDRR main strategy is to the capacities and resources of vulnerable groups and to reduce their vulnerability. But in CCDR, it empowers the children to raise their voice for their rights and the same time to prepare community for any potential disasters. So this is the basic difference between CCDRR and CBDRR. So with this, let me complete here my presentation. I would also like to show one movie on child-centric disaster risk reduction, and after that, I will go for a question answer session. So this movie will help you to understand how you can involve children in disaster risk management. Ravindra sir,
Yeah.
just check with me. Is my video is visible?
No, no, no. Not yet. So first to close the stop sharing, sir. Then Try
Again,
to
I
share
have,
file, sir.
again, I have to share.
Yes.
Okay.
Stop the sharing and try to share file, sir. Go to sharing and share file.
It's a video file.
Ah,
Okay, can I share my screen now?
if that video, okay, we are able to see video only, audio we are unable to listen, sir.
Is it okay now?
Video is okay, but we are unable to listen audio. Now it is okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Audible.
Bangladesh is the world's most unique green delta. People of this land stay close to the nature. They love nature and are made to be loved by nature. Bangladesh is a riverine country, largely dependent on the nature's mercy. With its 1,000 arms, Mercy Goddess Nature has brought blessings for this country. Here, people have also seen the frightful, cruel face of Mother Nature. Due to the human-caused injustice to nature and climate change, now Bangladesh is the world's most disaster-prone region. Now, natural disasters such as flood, drought, tornadoes, cyclone, and spate have constant companion of this region's people. These natural disasters snatch people, asset, prospect, dream, and our future. Southern districts are the most disaster-prone regions of the world's most disaster-prone country, Bangladesh. Arif, the child, one of the southern districts. His habitat is the small ramshackle cottage. Arif and his family are still burying those memories of 2007's frightful civil. This civil made his mother crippled. But this disaster has changed his life. After this disaster, Arif has realized that surviving demands fighting with nature. For this, preparedness is needed. During that time, Arif met Omid. Omid inspired Arif to join Children's Club. Arif has received practical training on disaster preparedness in this Children's Club. Arif realizes what to do if disaster like Sidr attacks again. Not only Arif, there are more children in Children's Club. They get training, be prepared. These children go to villages, collect disaster-related data from people.
আমরা আগে উদ্দীপন শিশু যুব ক্লাব থেকে আসছিলাম একটা জরিপে, তো আপনার কাছ থেকে কিছু আমরা তথ্য আগে নিব যাতে সহজ হতে পারে। ঝড়ার গাছ পড়ে গেছে, গাছটা কাইটে যদি 5 জন মানুষ উঠে গিয়ে ফেলায়, রাস্তা পরিষ্কার করে, এরকম কোন লোকজন আছে? নিজের ইচ্ছে।
আচ্ছা, আপনার সাথে আমরা একটা আলোচনা করি। আপনাদের এলাকায় কি ধরনের দুর্যোগ হয়?
দুর্যোগ হয়েছে তো আমাদের এলাকায় 88 সালের বন্যা হয়েছে, মারাত্মক বন্যা, যার কোনো মুখে কল্পনা করা যায় না।
On the basis of collected information, they exchange information related to disaster risks and strategies in yard meeting with the people of that area.
আমাদের এলাকায় বিভিন্ন সময় বিভিন্ন দুর্যোগ হয়, যেমন সিডর হয়েছে, আইলে হয়েছে। তো সেই বিষয়েই আমরা এখন আপনাদের সামনে আলাপ করব যে আমাদের এলাকায় কোন কোন ধরনের দুর্যোগ হয়েছে বা হওয়ার সম্ভাবনা আছে।
আপনাদের এলাকায় কি কি ধরনের দুর্যোগ হয়?
আমাদের এলাকায় সাধারণত দেখা গেছে 6 ঋতুর দেশ তো, আর দ্বিতীয় কথা হলো নদীমাতৃক দেশ।
এখন এই নিম্ন অঞ্চলের বরিশাল বিভাগের শতকরা দেখা গেছে আমরা সবাই খেটে খাওয়া মানুষ, দেখা গেছে কৃষিকাজ করতে গেছি হঠাৎ করে সিডার চলে আসছে। এখানে মেন সড়কের বারহাট থেকে প্রিন্সপুর দিকে যে রোড গেছে সেই রাস্তার এটা হলো চালনার ব্রিজ, ব্রিজের পাশ থেকে একটা রাস্তা চলে গেছে বৌডুবির দিকে চলে গেছে। এখান থেকে শুরু করে আমি একদম সোজা, এটা হলো আমাদের মানে ইউনিয়নের দক্ষিণ সাইড, এটা হচ্ছে দক্ষিণ। এখন আমি দক্ষিণ থেকে শুরু করলাম, আমি চালনারপুর থেকে কিছু দূর আগে এসে আমরা মেন রোডের অর্থাৎ পশ্চিম পাশে একটি সাইক্লোন সেন্টার।
On the basis of all these, they make the map indicating disasters and resources. Club finalizes this map. Then, this map is presented in the meeting with Union Borishaw. This design is finally approved here.
এখানে আমরা দেখছি নভেম্বর ডিসেম্বরে বন্যার ঝুঁকি কম, আমাদের অভিজ্ঞতা থেকে বলছি যে আমরা ছিল নভেম্বর 15 নভেম্বর 2007 পরে আরো সিগন্যাল আসছিল, কিন্তু হয়তো আমাদের এই অঞ্চলে আসে না, সেটা নভেম্বরের মধ্যে হচ্ছে। নভেম্বর মাসটাকে আমরা একেবারে দেখতে পাচ্ছি। আমি এখন আশাবাদী যে প্রাকৃতিক দুর্যোগ আমরা আমাদের আছে
Thus, Arif and the child of this human habitation have become a united force, ready to face disasters. These children suffer most in the natural disaster of Bangladesh. So, Arif's preparedness only mitigates disasters. Though Bangladesh has gone far ahead in the field of disaster risk reduction, still, children are ignored in disaster preparedness and strategies for confronting disasters. In order to change the situation, Save the Children has adopted society-based child-centered disaster risk reduction program. Along with partner organizations, Save the Children is preparing children like Arif in disaster-prone areas so that they can win over disasters. This club is preparing Arif and his friends to confront disasters. They are preparing themselves as trained children. Following this, 2,640 children are being prepared through 30 clubs to fight against disasters. Even the entertainments are disaster preparedness center.
টেলিভিশনেও দেওয়া হয়েছে।
Thus, an aware, united, and child-friendly population can mitigate disaster risk and handle disaster situation. Say, for example, Arif and his friends. Now, Arif is much more self-confident as well as self-assured.
2007 যে আমাদের সিডে হয়েছে, সেই সিডে যে আমার মা পঙ্গু হয়ে গেছে, আজকে যদি সেই সিডে আসে তাহলে আমার কোনো ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হবে না, আমার পরিবারের কোনো ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হবে না, প্লাস আমার আত্মীয় স্বজনদের কোনো ক্ষয়ক্ষতি হবে না। কারণ আমি এখন জানি যে দুর্যোগ আসলে কি করতে হবে, দুর্যোগ চলাকালীন সময় কি করতে হবে, দুর্যোগ শেষে আমাদের কি করতে হবে, আমি এখন সব বিষয়ে জানি। আর তাই আমি এখন বলতে পারি দুর্যোগ আসলে আমার আমার মনে হয় আমার পরিবার সহ আমি যাদেরকে এই বিষয়ে জানাইছি তাদের কারোই কোনো ক্ষতি হবে না।
All of them are self-assured. A self-assured Bangladesh like this can be the prime force to handle the disaster situation. Disasters are bound to come, but need to be handled with sufficient preparedness. A prepared generation can mitigate disaster effects.
Now let's spend another 10 minutes for question answer session. Participants, you are having any questions, you can directly ask me, or you can put it in the chat box also. Any questions from the participant side? Any questions from the participant side? You can raise your hand, they will unmute. Or people who joined as a panelist also, you can unmute yourself and you can ask questions. And from Kanjam Prasad, he was asking how to we plan my school. See, as per this NDMA guidelines, all the schools needs to prepare a school safety plan, a school disaster management plan. So there is a clear guidelines available, and model school safety plans are also available in the NDMA website. You can download, and also you can prepare a school safety plan by involving your children.
Samudrala Nageswara garu, you can ask your question, sir. We have unmuted your mic, sir.
Sir,
Yes, please.
this video is very inspirational, but
Thank you.
how to incorporate our students to follow these disaster management? Need some trainings also for this.
Yes. So for that, first you need to understand some training. You need to participate in some training programs. Based on that, you can educate your children. Okay.
Yeah.
And second thing, you can also approach NDRF team, National Disaster Response Force team, or STRF, State Disaster Response Force team also. They used to come to the school, visit the schools, and they are giving mock drills to the children. You can use their resources and you can train your school students on for this do's and don'ts regarding earthquake or during cyclone. So that will be useful.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other question?
Nothing.
Thank you. Any other question from the participant side?
Purnima Rangaraj garu, please ask your question.
Any questions from the participant side? Next session is about disaster impact on children that we will discuss. One person was asking, does the children won't be affected? Of course, they will be affected. That we are going to discuss. And one person has raised the question, Chandra, how to explain about disaster to the students. So there are large number of materials are available in NIDM website and the NDMA website. So that materials also can be used to teach your students. And there are child-friendly materials. Even you can also access UNICEF, WHO. So they all are providing a lot of materials, and video clips are also available. So videos are very much interested to the students. So by using those materials, you can teach to your students. So don't teach like other regular sessions. So let it be like activities. Even you can teach them by conducting some campaigns or competitions, drawing competitions, speech competitions. So they will learn themselves. That will give a better understanding for the children. Any other question from the participant side?
As per my opinion, children are very powerful and useful resource for using disaster management.
Okay.
That is my main opinion, sir.
Okay, sir, that's fine. Thank you. Okay. There are some questions about the materials. So we will provide all the materials in the.
Bhaskar garu, Arekante Bhaskar garu, please ask your question, sir. You have unmuted your mic.
We will send all the PowerPoints to the host organization, and they will send to you through the email. All the materials will be, all the PowerPoints will be provided to you. Okay. Is there any other question? How to encourage students to participate in disaster risk management program? There is a question by Archana Pawar. As even I have said for the previous question which I have answered, you just start with competitions so that
Sir,
they can get awareness. Yes, sir, please.
hello,
Yes, sir, please continue.
sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible. Continue.
All managers and all the participants, sir. I am Bhaskar, a teacher from Karnool district, sir. Program is very useful to us, sir. చాలా situations in video. Sir,
చెప్పండి.
material, any material, this program, sir. Any
We have a, we have a training module and PowerPoints, and these videos will be sent to you through the email. Okay, you can contact APHRD. They will be providing you. Okay. His voice is gone. Okay, if there is no more question, we will move to the next session.
Okay, sir. Okay, please continue, sir.
Let me take just a few minutes to open my PowerPoint. Yeah. During my session, one person was asking, does the children would be affected by disaster? Of course, the children are also a victims and they are also being affected by various disasters. So in this session, we will be discussing about disasters impact on children, and we'll be discussing next 20 to 25 minutes and how we are going to protect them from the disasters. Okay. So, like previously, I said the children were being directly affected by disasters. And if you take any disaster related data, the loss of life for the children has been higher than adults. The death rate of the children is higher than the adults. And because they are biophysical vulnerable, they are also depending on the parents. So that's the reason the death rate is also higher among the children. And many times the disasters also separate the from their families. If you take this example of COVID-19, parents who have been migrated for their work, they are unable to meet their children. The families were living, only the father is gone, other states are abroad, they were unable to get children. So what happens? The children were being separated from their families because of disaster. And it is their right, the children should be with their parents. Okay. And I remember one situation, I have seen that in during my childhood in my village, there is a lengthy bond. Okay. And there are one main hamlet and there is another side, there is a small hamlet. So this tank is parallel, this water body is parallel to the village. And what happened, due to the heavy rain, there was a flood situation. So the people have realized that the tank bund is going to be broken. So what happened before broke this band? They have evacuated all the children from the small hamlets to the safest place. And so the children have been reached the main hamlet. And before the arrival of all other before the arrival of the parents, and because they were trying to bring their valuables. So before reaching the parents to the safer place, the tank bund was broken. So what happened? It was taken 2 3 days to stop that flood water. So you just remember almost 20 to 40 children who were crying without their parents because they all were stuck up with that small hamlet due to this flood water. So what happened? They all were stuck there, and the children were crying. There is no other relatives, and even if the relatives, they were very much fond of with their parents. So in many times, the children were being separated from their parents. And second thing, due to the damage of physical infrastructure, which is very vital to the children's survival. If you see cyclone or landslide, earthquake, and because of Tufan, what happened? Large number of children-related infrastructures like primary health centers, schools, Anganwadi centers were being damaged. Okay, in last year during Bihar flood, I have seen one of the video. The Anganwadi center was floating on the flood. So when this critical infrastructure is damaged, it also affects directly the children because they will lose their nutrition meals and they will lose their education and they may not able to get vaccination from the primary health center. Okay, and when any disaster affects, the routine life of your children is being disrupted. So what the children used to do, they used to wake up in the morning, have a refreshment, and eat. And after that, they are going to school. And when they back to home, and again they used to play for some time and spend time with the friends, do homework and eat the food, and again go for a sleep. So this is the routine life of your children. So what happens when the disaster occurs? Their routine life is disrupted, because when the disaster comes, the people were kept in the shelters, some relief centers, so they may not be able to sleep on time, they may not be able to play, they may not get their own food preferences. Now if you see in many households, who is the decision making authority? In many houses, the children, they are deciding what meal to be cooked today. We all know that before, once we get married, the wife comes to husband and they used to ask, "Today, ఏమండి ఈ రోజు మీకు ఏం కావాలి? आज क्या चाहिए आपका पति?" They used to ask, the wife used to ask the husband. But once you get the child, so the children are being a decision-making authority. The same wife go and ask their child, "बच्चों आज क्या चाहिए आपका? मैं ఈ రోజు ఏం కావాలి మీకు తిన్నాకు?" So they used to ask their children. So the children used have experienced what their own preference of food and their own choice of foods and meals. So, but at the time of disaster, their routine life is disrupted. You can compare with this present COVID-19 situation. Are they able to get? They were not able to go to school. Their routine is disrupted. They were not able to. Their movement is being restricted, so they were not able to go out of their home for their basic foods, even for the to meet their friends. Okay, so their routine is being disrupted, which has other impact on their life. Okay, now I would like to give a small exercise for the participants, requesting all of you to take a pen and notepad quickly. I do not have much time. Take a pen and notepad and keep watching the time also. Hope everyone is ready. So I'm going to do the exercise now. What you have to do is, I hope everyone has taken notepad and pen, and see the timing also. How much time, how many seconds you are taking to complete this activity. Okay, all of you write ABCD in alphabetical order till Z. Okay, when I say start, then you have to start and see the time also. After completion, you can put the how many seconds you have taken to complete this activity. You can put it in the chat box, how many seconds you have taken to complete this activity. Okay, so take your notebook and pen. When I say start, you have to write ABCD in alphabetical order till Z. Okay, after completing, put how many seconds you have taken to complete this activity in the chat box. You can write it. Okay, ready? Your time starts now. Start writing ABCD. Hope everyone is doing. So after completion of this ABCD, put it in the chat box. How many seconds you have taken to complete this activity? Yeah. Vasavi Lakshmi, 8 seconds. Purnima, 11 seconds. Subhant, 15 seconds. 20 seconds. Haris, Chandrakala, 10 seconds. One person directly typed here. Okay, this is also good. No, you can type and send. It's another good idea. 8 seconds. Meena Gupta, 10 seconds. Gautam, 10 seconds. Okay, Ramya, 10 seconds. RB, 8 seconds. Selvi, 10 seconds. Noor Mohammed, 30 seconds. Okay, enough. Stop here. Now, be ready for another next exercise. Next exercise, be ready. Here, when I say start, you can start the exercise. Okay, let me explain. Now, you have to turn your page. Don't write in the same page. Don't write in the same page. Okay, so now you have to write ABCD in reverse. Write ABCD in reverse when I say start. And after completing, same you can put how many seconds you have taken. Okay, ready? Start. Your time starts now. Yeah. Write ABCD in a reverse and put how many seconds you have taken. Let's see. Chinta 7 seconds, Vasavi 10 seconds, Kanjam Prasad 7 seconds. One person directly typing here ABCD. 15 seconds more. Jai Chitra, Shyamala, Vignesh, 7 seconds. Fast. Okay. Now, tell me what happens when you are doing in a reverse? Anyone? What problems you faced, or what you have experienced when you are doing in a reverse? It takes time, more time, confused, some confusion, forgotten. Okay, confusion occurs, took more time. Okay, mind is not trained, we are habituated, sequence is missing, we need to think, panic, of course, take more time. Okay, problem of concentration, forgotten, little bit confused, recalling the order. Okay. Thank you so much for your active participation. Okay. So what happened here is when our routine is disrupted, we were habituated, we were routine to write in alphabetical order. So when you are asked to write in a reverse, you are facing some difficulty. There is a little shake. So similarly, when the routine of a child is being affected, they are facing some mental health issues. Okay? Same, you think of your routine life, you used to wake up at, just an example I'm telling, you are waking up say at 6 o'clock every day, and after finish all the household activity, you used to reach office sharply at 9 o'clock. This is your routine. Okay? But one day, unfortunately, you are having very important meeting with your boss, but you slept till 8 o'clock. Usually used to wake up 6 o'clock, but you wake up on a particular day, woke up at 8 o'clock. Just think of your situation. The whole day will be a tragedy for you. You may not take a bath, you may not take food, very quickly you have to get ready and you have to reach office. Okay, so it's when your routine is affected, your mental health is also being affected. Clear? So even if it is the situation for elder people, just think of children, how they will be affected. And the disaster also affects the physical health of the children. So now if you relate with the COVID-19, every day you can see the cases, the number of children, number of cases are being increased. And last 1 week, it crosses more than 90,000, and it was highest of 97,000 per day. And the children are also being infected, right? And you take any other disasters, the children are more vulnerable by biophysical reasons, and so the disaster can damage the children's physical health. If the children doesn't know swimming, so they will be struck up with the flood. And if the children doesn't know do's and don'ts, if any landslides occurs or any earthquake occurs, they may got injured, even they may die. Okay, so the children may be injured or sometimes they may be killed. So the reducing intake of calories and essential vitamins and nutrients. So when the disasters occurs, the intake of food or the calories or essential vitamins and nutrients is being reduced. So think of COVID-19 situation. People have lost their income, lost their employment, so they were not able to feed their children properly. Today morning, I saw one woman who were not able to feed their child. He was asking help from other people. He was asking money on the roadside. So they were not able to feed their children. So naturally, the food intake has been reduced, which has other health consequences. And many times, the disaster also can cut off access to medical care. What happened initial our lockdown period, during lockdown 1, Even the people were permitted to go for a medical purpose, but the people were, the doctors were not ready to treat. So many children were not able to access to the medical care. Even till now, many children have missed their vaccination on time. There is a disruption in the vaccination schedule, immunization schedule. The children who have other health issues, they were not able. Even myself, I was facing a problem. My child was having other fever, normal fever, but I couldn't find any hospital. I couldn't find any doctors who can treat my child. So when the children were having other health issues, which is were not able to treat, when it is were untreated, the health problems may be increased. They will be susceptible to the impact. And when there is a disruption in food supply, which also leads to the malnutrition. Now this UNICEF and World Health Organization, they came up with a research, and the findings says that the malnutrition and the child death also going to be increased. Okay, in the first presentation, we have seen some child stunting, child wasting. Okay, now let's understand what is child stunting and child wasting. This child stunting, underweight, and child wasting. These are the three major indicators at global level that are being used to study the disaster impact on the children. Okay, so let's see what is child stunting. So child stunting is failure to grow adequately. Failure to grow adequately. Okay, we are the parents must be knowing when you got a birth of child and you used to take your child to the Anganwadi center to measure your height and weight. If your child is not having a standard weight and height, they used to increase the supplementary food which is being supplied by the Anganwadi center. Okay, so here the stunting is failure to grow adequately. The growth is being affected. It is also an indication of malnourishment. So it is also being measured by height for age. So as per your age, you need to have a certain height. You should have a certain height. If your child is not having a standard height for the age, then it is stunting. And similarly, being underweight, it is measured by weight for age. As per the age, the children should have some standard weight. These Anganwadi workers must be knowing about these all standard weights and heights. Child wasting is being measured by weight for height. Okay, weight for height. As per your weight, you should have a standard height. Okay, so the standing is height for age, being underweight is weight for age, and wasting is weight for height. So this standing and underweight and wasting is caused by shift in consumption or decrease in food supply. Okay, so when there is a changes in the consumption of food or decrease in food supply, so these children were being affected by child stunting and child wasting and being underweight. And there are other causes also now, like a heredity, and the people who are the children were not ready to play outside. They were always using their own mobile phones, and the children were locked with the small rooms in the apartments. These are also nowadays a reason for this child stunting and child wasting. So now by seeing this picture, you can understand exactly what is child stunting and wasting. If you, the teachers must be knowing, or if you go to any school and if you see the children in one class, you can find a lot of difference among each children. Similarly, you see the first picture, there are 6, 7 children. They all are 8 years old. Approximately 8 years means third standard children. You can just imagine. But see the difference. The first boy is little taller. The second girl is little shorter, and the fourth girl is too shorter. And again, the fifth boy is too taller, you can find a lot of difference among the same age child. Okay, and see this picture. The first one is standing, low height. The second child, in the second picture, I'm telling, it's a normal child, and the third child is wasted. There is no standard weight for the height. Similarly, look at the third picture in the bottom. Normal child who is having a normal weight and height, and wasted is a thinner than the normal child. Okay, less weight, you can say. Standard, shorter than the normal child. So the fourth picture you can see wasted and standard, thinner and shorter than normal. So these are all impacts of the disaster. It may be lead to drought, it may be due to a flood, or it may be due to COVID-19. So many times because of disaster, the children were being affected, and especially they were standard, wasted, and being underweight. And apart from that, you can see due to the lack of water and sanitation facility, the children were also infectious to the diseases to spread. And the unhygienic conditions and lack of safe drinking water also leads to the infectious diseases. And during and after flood cases, it may lead to diarrhea, cholera, and other menstrual diseases to be increased. And many times, this diarrheal illness and dehydration and malnutrition leads to the threatening for young babies to be died. Many times, the dehydration can become a life threatening for babies and very young children. And of course, now we all know that because of this COVID-19 or any disaster which can affect some the schooling of children. So first, if you take any disaster, there may be a loss of school infrastructure and loss of learning materials and loss of school time and closure, and the children were may not able to access to the school and the dropouts, right? And of course they are also losing their recreational activities. Take an example of COVID-19. You see, more than 6 months the children were lost their school days. Of course, it's their rights. The government has come up with some solution to conduct online education. But after this COVID-19 lockdown and when the schools were reopened, you remember that there is going to be a large number of dropouts. So it is our responsibility to ensure all the children were being back to the school. Okay, so it's our responsibility to ensure all the children back to the school. But earlier, if you see, when even I was studying at the school, if I have not gone to school even for a single day, the teacher used to send other students to bring that student. The children used to run away, even the people used to search, and after 2 3 hours, they used to catch hold of the boy and bring back to the school. But are we doing nowadays? If the children, if a child is not coming to school even a single day, are we doing a necessary follow up? So it's our responsibility that after reopening of the schools, we need to ensure all the school children were back to the school. And also in the previous slides, when we were discussing about health, we have seen that many children's their routine is being disrupted. Their routine is being disrupted. So their immunization schedule is also being disrupted. So how we are going to ensure this immunization to all the children, especially the migrant children? After any disaster, the families were used to migrate. So at that time, their immunization schedule is being disrupted. So it's our responsibility to ensure immunization at the time after or before disasters. And if you see impact of cyclone Fani, see large number of elementary school buildings were damaged, and the roofs and water outlets, toilets and kitchen sets were damaged. And in many schools, there is no proper place or godown to keep the food material stocks. Okay, so after disaster, even they may not able to get the food on the at the school. And see, large number of schools and classrooms were partially and fully damaged, and many children used to lose their books and materials and it takes them so much time to get the fresh materials also. So after a disaster, another important issue we need to understand the child labor. So when there is a disaster, the family might be losing everything due to loss of economic activities and assets. The child may be forced to go as a child labor. Okay, and now during this COVID-19 also you can see the number of child marriages were being increased every day, and how my relatives and friends, their children were studying in a college and school, and they used to use a mobile phone, and I am seeing a WhatsApp status every day nowadays. There are some marriage statuses there. So what, and if you see that girl, their child 12th standard or 11th standard school children, they were being married. So this number of child marriages were also being increased. And by using the uncontrolled law and order situation after disaster like earthquake or flood, the child may be trafficked, kidnapped, and many times the children were losing their parents in the disaster and they become orphan, and many times the parents were also selling their child as a bonded labor. So these are all some of the social issues which is being experienced by the children after the disaster. So it is our responsibility to ensure, it is our responsibility to ensure that we need to protect the children from this child labor, child trafficking, child marriage. Okay, so of course, due to disasters, the children physical health, mental health, education is also being affected. So it's our responsibility to protect them from the disasters. So with this, let me complete my presentation, and if you have any questions you can raise now. Any questions from the participant side, you can post in chat box, or also you can keep it in the, you can also ask me directly. How can the emotional vulnerability of children be addressed? See, it again, it depends on the age of the child. Okay, so the children mostly like to get recreational activities. So even at the time of disasters, it's our responsibility to ensure their recreation. We used to provide, we have to provide some playing materials to them, and we have to provide chocolates or whatever they want. So at the time of disaster or when the children in the relief center, we need to create a child-friendly spaces, child-friendly spaces which includes providing all the materials, playing materials, and a safer environment, and being with parents. Okay, so these all will help them to come out of their emotional vulnerability. What can we do with the labor children asked by their parents? Your question is not clear. What can we do with the labor children asked by their parents? How to protect the disabled children from the disaster situation? Yeah, it's a very challenging and good question. Actually, this differently abled child, evacuating or safeguarding the differently abled child from the disaster is very challenging one. For example, if differently able, in case if they are having problem in their legs, they need a support. Okay, that's the reason we need to give a priority. In that case, we need to give a priority for those people to evacuate. And if in case blind people, they also need a support from others. But if people who are mentally challenged, if they are not trained properly, if they are the mentally challenged people, if they are not trained properly, it is very difficult to evacuate them or safeguard them from the disasters. Okay, and we also need to come up with some early warnings which can be helpful for the blind people who are deaf. Okay, they may not able to hear the news. So it's a challenging one. We need to have a separate mechanism to safeguard them. How can we make midday meal more effective at pandemic situation? Another question. Here, the midday meal, like now, some states, some of the governments, they were adding some additional supplementary food. Like some states were decided to provide milk also in addition to their lunch midday meal scheme, and in addition, additional eggs they were providing. But another good initiative was done by, which I have already also told. They are providing take-home rice, providing all the supplement foods or nutrition at their doorstep, so that the children can be safe and their nutritional also can be ensured. Okay. So, Ravindra sir, with this, let me complete my presentation, today's class, and if there are any more questions which can be also discussed tomorrow.
Okay, sir. There is a last question, sir. How to prepare parents about the safety of their children in school, as they are reluctant?
How to prepare the parents about the safety of their, yeah, of course, now this government of India is planning to reopen the schools safely. So they will be coming up with the new guidelines, the schools as well as the parents. So we cannot compromise with the life of your child, so we need to educate the children. So as far as now present situation, we need to educate the parents, and better to not send the children to school. Let them be in the home and they can access to online education. Okay. As for till at least primary, the children should be in the home and they can get online education. And when they are, in case we are reopening the school, when they are sending the children, they need to be, the schools needs to conduct online meeting with the parents as well as students, and we need to educate them what are the do's and don'ts need to be followed. Like 3 important things we need to be followed. You may learn from yesterday's do's and don'ts, like social distancing, hand washing, and wearing mask. This need to be ensured. And different countries have come up with different methodology for maintaining a social distance, protecting them. So that all will come as a guideline. Okay, so after getting these guidelines, but you can use those guidelines to educate the parents.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. I request all the YouTube viewers to please subscribe the APHID channel. So tomorrow you will get automatically, you will get the tomorrow's YouTube link. Okay, please subscribe to the APHID channel, sir. I request all the participants, please join tomorrow also, say using same link. Najia?
Thank you, Balu sir, for your wonderful interaction. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. There are large number of questions since last 2 hours completion taking, so some questions can be faced tomorrow. And related to school reopening and safeguards, we are also organizing a 2 hours program and safely reopening of school